Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Mike Armstrong podcast show. And this afternoon, we're joined by Robert Hana, who is from the Legally Speaking podcast, as you might be able to tell with the background. And well, for those on the YouTube channel, the ones on my podcast, they won't have a clue what I'm talking about. But anyway, how are you doing today, Robert? You okay?
Really good, thanks, Mike. And thanks so much for having me on the show. Loving the patriotic Welsh flag in the background there as well. But yeah, no, thanks for having me. I'm really good, thank you.
Yeah, no problem at all. And I'm a very patriotic Welshman, but I'm also part English, part Irish as well. So I'm very much British, very patriotic British. But I'm also very patriotic globalization person. Really, I'm about collaboration. I'm a big networker, podcaster, communicator via all social media platforms. And to me, it's about how we all can get over this pandemic together and how we all can save the planet together, global warming and Black Lives Matter and all these sort of things. I think we all need to work together to improve the world and improve humankind, really.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. I think it's been a torrid time for all of us. I think everyone's had their own battles to be it from running businesses to being an employee to maybe losing your job to pay cuts to all the health issues and everything that's gone around. I'm a big advocate for the LinkedIn platform generally in terms of I'm seeing a real comingness together and people trying to help one another as much as they can. I think now more than ever, if people are in positions of responsibility or can connect people or introduce people, or even just like you say, a little note of kindness, to say I'm thinking of you, and all those little things right now are so important.
Yeah, definitely. And, for me, as soon as this pandemic hit and we locked down, I knew we were living history. We were in our Second World War. This is our Second World War, of our generation. But unlike any other war where there's always been a them and an us, yeah, actually it was humankind against an outside body, yeah, about another opponent, if you like, yeah. And so it's the first time that human beings can actually come together and actually have a joined up fight against a foreign enemy. And so, that triggered me to start my podcast, which I started at the beginning of lockdown, write a book, create some formulas, and just get busy networking and connecting with people around the world. Because I think, there was a lot of problems in this world before the lockdown and before the virus, things like Brexit and Black Lives Matter and Me Too and global warming and all these things. And actually, they're things that needed the human race, I think, to collaborate together and to network together to actually solve. And so this pandemic, some people might look at it as a good thing for the human race if we can actually join together and do all of the things that we need to do, following on from once we actually kick the coronavirus's backside.
Yeah, I think the only way to do this is together, and I think everyone can play a role. I think that's the thing as well throughout the pandemic. Even if you don't think you can. I think if you can just stay as vigilant, you can try and follow the guidelines. Every little change that you make to try and help, whilst everyone's working night and day on a vaccine, will really help us come together to get over this. And then there's also the other of kind of learning to cope, with the current, and there's been a lot of adaptation in business, in personal lives, and generally across the board. And so I think there's that real survival mode a lot of people have tried to go into as well. So, particularly myself as an entrepreneur, business owner, on podcaster like you, and doing lots of other initiatives, I've seen there's been a lot of opportunities that have arisen as a result of the pandemic as well, which is great, and I hope those flourish. In terms of people who have been brave enough, bold enough to maybe do a startup, or equally just some people who have felt better within themselves, or have got back into their fitness, or more family time because they're at home now. So it is trying to pull out the positives from all of the kind of tough stuff that's happened. throughout the pandemic. But I'm a serial optimist. I'm a serious sort of positive in terms of, there is going to be a vaccine. We are going to get through this, come what may. And so I'm on a mission myself to not only do as much as I can in the legal community, which is the sector I work in, and support law firms globally with recruitment, have my podcast and various other things, but just generally help people, particularly from a careers perspective, particularly the next generation. I mean, the whole saga with A levels, GCSE results, and everything else that's gone on, people really need to give time where they can to supporting our future. You're talking about the planet, absolutely, but we need our next generation of geologists. We need our next generation of sort of lawyers, doctors, whatever. And at the moment, if you're a youngster starting out, they've got a lot of anxiety, they've got a lot of stress, a lot of worry. So it's our responsibility as more senior citizens to really take that on and take time. And forget about just all about making the money. I think actually people just want to be given time. So if you can do that now, that's probably the most precious thing you can do.
Yeah, definitely. And I just recorded an episode on my YouTube live channel where I was talking about it's all over the news at the moment. People not going back to work and all of this sort of thing. And I'm really interested because you force feed 6 months of negativity to people and then wonder why they don't want to leave the cave.
Yeah. Well, that's it. I think people are. There isn't a vaccine yet. We have to be very, very clear. So, it would be a lot different story if there was a proven vaccine. It would make it a lot easier for people. But there is a worry, and people, also like me, if you've got elderly family, relatives, or whatever, you're not just thinking of you. You're thinking of your family. You're thinking of significant others. You're thinking about your friends. You're thinking about just the wider general population. So it isn't as black and white as far as I'm concerned in terms of, well, I'll just go back to work now, because you don't understand everyone's underlying personal situations and what they might need to be taking into account as well. Because yes, most people have jobs, but the job is their job. It's not necessarily their whole life, whereas this is affecting everyone's whole life. So it's a bigger picture.
Yeah, definitely. And from my perspective as well, people have actually. I've been in lockdown for 8 years. The routine of lockdown, and that's because I decided I wanted to live my life on my terms and do things my way. Yeah, and actually everyone else have joined me on those. They were forced into it, but a lot of people are going to see the benefits of living their life on their terms and on their timeline and in their routine. So not only is there, the fear factor of people wanting to return back to work, there's also the psychological factor of them not wanting to go back to a routine that wasn't as good as a new routine that they forged out for themselves. So I think this pandemic and the lockdown situation is going to change a big proportion of society forever.
I think it does, but again, because I try to mentor a lot of the juniors, I think what has to happen, it's okay for perhaps say someone like me who's got over a decade of experience in the City of London. I've magpied, I've learned off lots of people. I've then been able to kind of go and work on my own businesses, and so I've had the privilege of having all that office environment experience, all that learning, that trait, all those little things that you get just being in an office environment. And my biggest concern with it now is absolutely, if you're a more established working professional, why wouldn't you take a risk of maybe starting up? The internet, the resources, everything there, it really is. If you're in a service-based industry in particular, your cost base can be quite low. Just go on with it and have the right people to help you. But I think we have to really think about what we can do to get the best out of the next generation of professional working professionals. Because if the office is commercial real estate, a lot of businesses are going to be looking at chopping their office space. I mean, we work, as I say, servicing law firms. A lot of them are still looking at agile, flexible working, only working at 10% occupancy. It doesn't make sense for them to hold on to those real estate costs. But then what does that mean for the next generation? How are they going to learn? Is it going to be advanced AI? Is it going to be advanced robotics that are actually just teaching these people, whatever it might be? But there needs to be some really robust systems and processes in place to ensure the next generation get as much exposure and experience as we all had, because I do think that's really, really, really important.
Yeah, definitely. And I think, I think things like Zoom and all of that will go and improve and maybe make it more of an office type feel. For example, if you're going about your day to day, but other people can pop in and pop. I think that will happen naturally. I think it's already happening with like networking events. It's not just a one-on-one or one to many, and you all get your moment, but you have breakout rooms and go off and meet in separate rooms, and I think that will happen. So I think yeah, there will always be a need for some people to get into an office and learn from other people. But I think technology and innovation will try and fill the gap as well. If people do decide, well, actually, I'm going to stay at home, I think stuff will. I think Zoom and these sort of companies. There's loads of them. Remo and there's lots of these systems that they're just going to keep developing. Like, you know what I mean? So there's going to be. I think just like the high street and offices and cities have changed their architecture and their buildings and their use over years and years and years. The online community and portals and places where people congregate, etc. I think is going to develop a lot over time as well because of this extra push of, you just, what have we done? Like, probably times 10 the amount of people who were online all the time than there was before the pandemic,
And that's the thing now. I think you can't afford, unfortunately, because the world is going, you can't afford to be ignorant to the online world. You have to embrace. I genuinely believe you have to embrace technology. You have to embrace the internet. You have to develop that skills because that's the world. We're in a digital world now. We've been in a digital world for years and years. This has just supercharged us to the next level. So really, you have to embrace for your own livelihood, if anything. Particularly, also the other thing that people aren't talking about at the moment. I mean, I read in the news. I think it was just this morning. There's been a sharp rise since people have returned to work. So if a second wave does happen and it gets ugly during the winter, you have to be able to use, invest in the online community or be aware of the online community to sort of keep that togetherness. Try and see the positives in it. But if you are struggling and you don't know where to start with that, then speak to people who can help you get better at it, basically.
Yeah, definitely. So I think we've covered a lot of the topics of the day. Tell us a little bit about your podcast and what the aim is of that, and what to expect for people tuning in, etc.
Yeah, so it's called the Legally Speaking podcast. So I'm a recruiter by background. I also sort of invest and mentor a lot of people in startups and things like that. But the Legally Speaking podcast is a podcast which tries to share inspiring stories dedicated ideally around interesting topics connected to the law, or people who have gone through a legal journey or going through their legal journey and talking about their skills, their experiences, and sharing knowledge and I guess what they've learned along the way. And it really started as a project. I think we're definitely in a content-fueled society now. So if you have a business, you have to be producing some form of content to build trust, to become known, and that's authentic context. So we started out in November 2019. We're now in the top 10% of podcasts in the world, and that's from really keeping a niche podcast and staying to a market that's right for us. We've been consistently producing shows, so we air a main show every Monday. We've now launched our mini-sode, so we do a number of mini-series as well, which are sort of short, informative 5-10 minute clippings. We're in 850 cities, we're in 85 countries, and it's just snowballed. It's just snowballed from a project of and it's great for us because we do a lot of legal recruitment through my other company called my company Consume Car. And really, this is a great way for us to do business development. We can invite guests, our potential target market, onto the show to share their stories. We can produce content from it. We can produce infographic, transcriptions, all of these different things from the show. We can help educate our audiences. And there's lots of kind of cool things we can do that have originated from the podcast, but we're always evolving. We're always looking at new ways that we can be relevant and keeping up with stories. And we're now into our third season. We're in the top 40 for careers and business in Apple iTunes within GB&I. So yeah, I think we're just going to keep going at it meticulously. And the other thing is we haven't had a massive budget. I think people get scared, particularly with podcasting. It's like, oh, do I need to invest thousands in kit? Do I need to invest thousands in X, Y, and Z? No, find out who your target audience is. Be consistent, get good quality guests on the show, talk about what's really authentic, like we're having a good chat today about general stuff, and your followings will grow over time. But you'd rather have 100 loyal followers than 150,000 fake followers that don't really support and get behind you. So don't get too bogged down in the number of listeners. Keep doing what you're doing, because over time, if you're staying within the right areas, you'll build loyal followings.
Yeah, definitely. It's definitely happening with me. The momentum is like a snowball. It takes a long time to build up, and then once it just keeps going, more and more snow keeps sticking to it, and it keeps getting bigger and bigger. That's what I'm noticing. But I've been blogging for 15 years before I started my podcast, and I've been in sales for over 30 years. So like for me, it was like a no-brainer. I love helping people and educating people. So I just record all of the information that I know about networking, sales, marketing, social media, entrepreneurship, leadership. I got lots of different features, and I just keep putting that content out there. And I don't care how many people listen to it, as long as there's some people benefiting from it. You know.
Well, that's it. I always say to people, you will have followers. A lot of people get sort of hell bent about likes and things like that. I mean, my biggest platform is LinkedIn. I think definitely TikTok and Instagram and Insta Reels and all of that video, that's definitely coming. It's here. It's going to take over. But for me, as a professional networking site, LinkedIn has changed significantly. Now it's a hybrid of people want to know about your work, but they also want to know about who you are as an individual. They don't really want you selling and pitching on the platform. They want you to share your story, help, educate, connect, and be seen as a thought leader. But LinkedIn is just a really, really, really solid platform that I just genuinely encourage, if people aren't on there, to get on there, because it can just help. I mean, we've got connected through the platform, Mike, and it's just a great way of just helping one another. So I'd really encourage people to check it out.
Yeah, definitely. I started my podcast in April. I've actually done over 600 episodes. About 150 of them have been dual chats with people. The rest have been my own content, if you like. And the dual chats I do on Zoom. I'm going to probably look at StreamYard. I do some live video on my YouTube channel and stuff. But I'm connected with loads of people. Like LinkedIn is now what it should have always been, with everyone on it and massively using it, etc. Because the old school networkers and salespeople and entrepreneurs and whatever weren't using it and weren't in it all the time. It was a great platform, but it wasn't the hive of activity that it is now. And that's why it's all of a sudden, changed, and much more interactivity, much more, sharing of content and all of that, but actually much more as well reaching out. I think people are actually, understanding now that it is about collaboration, it is about partnerships, it is about helping each other. And so, I'm getting people from all around the world, as you said, you do as well, reaching out to you, people who share common interests, podcasters, speakers, bloggers, social media people. They're all coming to me because they can see what I'm doing, and they know they've got a message to share as well, which is going to add to the mix. Which is, it's good to have great guests on, isn't it?
Yeah, and everyone has a story. So I think all you have to do is just, do it. It sounds very silly, but just do it. I have so many friends that talk about wanting to set up a business, talk about wanting to do a podcast, talking about this. If you wait for the perfect moment, if you want it to be perfect, you'll never happen. Perfection, it doesn't happen. I mean, we're in our third season, we're in, we might even be in the top 10%, as I say, but we're still not perfect. We're by no means perfect, but we've just consistently shown up, and we're trying to do our best, and we're trying to evolve, and we're trying to reach perfection, but we're not hell-bent on being perfect. And so as a result of that, we bring a loyal following. But if you keep trying to finite, an idea is just an idea. Reality, action is what's going to make that idea take place. And I think people need to be encouraged to take action. And you know what? You're going to make mistakes. You fail all the time. You and I might probably both relate to that. I make millions of mistakes even every day. But I don't let that faze me. I keep going. So yeah, I think Nike's, I didn't really understand Nike's tagline as a kid, but when you go into business, it makes a lot of sense. Just do it.
Yeah. Well, exactly. And my tagline for my podcast is "You can do it," because it's the belief that you can do it in order to give you the emotion in believing that you can do it, gives you the motion to do the activity to actually do it. Yeah, just a psychology approach first. So what you just said then is exactly what I said in a video on my LinkedIn on the weekend, where I give podcasting tips and advice. And I've only been podcasting since April, but I've been involved in sales and marketing for 30 years, and obviously 15 years blogging. And to me, podcasting is just audio blogging. You know what I mean? To me, it's not much different. And so I give a lot of my tips and advice was about stuff I've learned about content and content marketing and other things but the biggest tip that I gave to people is just do it. Is just to get going, because it's the procrastination about, like you say, having the right idea, the right approach, the right equipment, the right this, the right that, the right other. At the end of the day, none of that's important. Just do it. You can pick all of those things up and improve them all as you go.
Yeah. No, couldn't agree more, Mike. So it's been a real pleasure chatting to you.
Yeah, great. And whereabouts in the country are you?
So I live in, my businesses are based in London, so in the city of London, just around the corner from the Bank of England. But I live in Leicestershire, so I'm from Leicestershire originally. So that's where I'm recording from today, because we're all virtually based for the moment.
Well, that's great. The reason I like to ask is all the people I connect and network with, obviously the podcast for me is like a front end of the funnel. I get people on and then I want to connect with them on social media, etc., and build long lasting relationships, because I am a networker and I've got a map of the world on my wall and I stick red pins in different parts of the world where I get people on from, yeah, and where I connect and network with people from. So I'm going to stick one in the Midlands, whack it in for you.
Well. Put. I'm also half Iraqi, so
Oh, are
if you
you?
haven't had a new
Okay.
one from, if you haven't had a new one
I
from
haven't got a
Iraq
pin in
yet,
Iraq, no. So I'm going to stick one in London as well because I got a load of contacts in London. I used to be a corporate sales director and used to go to London 3 times a week for about 10 years. But I'll stick one in London as well. I've got a few around there anyway. I'll stick one in the Midlands. Although the map, the UK is quite heavy of pins already, but
I can
I'll stick one
imagine.
in
Yeah,
Iraq, which I don't have one. So
yeah.
yeah,
There you go. I thought that'd give you a bit of a use. Yeah. So there
yeah,
you go.
definitely. And I'll forget that you are the London one and the Midlands ones because I know lots of people in London and the Midlands, but I'll always remember
Exactly.
you. I'll always remember you as the Iraqi pin.
Yeah, there you go. There you go. No, Mike,
Yeah.
it's been a real pleasure. I love what you're doing, and you're going to carry on doing it, evidently. And I'm sure we'll feature again at some stage.
Yeah, and actually, I've got a bit of a legal background as well. So when I say a legal background, I'm not legally qualified or anything like that, but I used to be a corporate sales director, and I used to have to deal with a lot of T&Cs, a lot of and SLAs and all of that sort of stuff, because I was only selling to 10 million plus turnover businesses, and I used to deal with the top end of that out of the 17 people in my department. So me and my top salesperson used to go and do all the big contracts. So if you like, I've got quite a lot of experience about contracts and actually reading them and working with the legal team within an organization on how to make sure you don't just bend over when a large company wants you to take all of their terms and how you can get some of your terms and the negotiation and all of that. So I don't know if that would be a benefit of interest to you for your podcast, but if it is at some point or you think that's a relevant topic, more than happy to have a chat about that, because I'm all about sharing as much knowledge and information as I can. And actually, I used to work for a credit reference agency, and so I used to provide a lot of credit information and financial data and that. And actually, I teach people sales stuff. Yeah, I actually got a feature on my podcast called Wolf of Wales. Hashtag Wolf of Wales. Yeah, where I talk about sales. So I've been in sales since I was 11, and and ultimately, a lot of people need to learn that they can stop a lot of problems with payment and all that sort of thing if they get their contracts right on their website or with their T's and C's and all of that. So there's some real good value there that people need to learn and understand, because a lot of bad debts, for example, people not paying you and stuff, a lot of it's dispute resolution and dispute your problems with the way the contract was delivered, rather than they're just not paying you.
Yeah. No, interesting stuff, and that's certainly a chat we can pick up down the line for sure.
Yeah, definitely, and like you say, you're part of my network now. So if you see anyone I'm chatting to on my podcast episodes or on my YouTube channel, or if anyone I'm connected with on LinkedIn that you want to get on your podcast or anything like that, I have good contacts. So just either connect with them directly and drop my name in, yeah, or speak to me and I'll do an introduction. I'm more than happy about connecting people. I am a connector of people, and so yeah. And if you want to tag me in on any of your episodes or anything that you're doing, let me know. I'm also working on a communications mind mastermind for people in the communication space, podcasters, bloggers, social media marketers, anyone who can actually help each other to grow by using the brain power of 12 or 15 rather than their own individual brain power. So if that's something you'd be interested in, I'm asking all the podcasters I get on at the moment, because some will drop out. So I'll invite about 20, and some won't stick the week in week out pace or whatever. But if that's something of interest to you as well, let me know, and I can send you the invite when I set it up, basically.
Brilliant. Sounds good. Look forward to that, Mike. But yeah, thanks so much once again. It's been really good chatting.
Brilliant. Yeah, and also I'm just a mate of mine is connected or associated with Essex Business Radio. Yeah, and I'm about to ring him at some point today when I get a spare 5 minutes and get myself on it. And he likes to have business chats with people as well. So my guess is that would be a good protocol for you to go on as well. So thought I'd mention that to you as well while it's in my head fresh.
Yeah, no, that's very kind of you. Yeah, always happy to look at things like that and try and help where I can.
Yeah, okay, brilliant. Nice one. Have a great day. I know I will. And thank you very much for joining.
Yeah, cheers, Mike. You too. Take care of yourself.
All the best. Bye-bye. Right, nothing else left to say other than have a great day. I know I will. And thanks very much for listening. Cheers. Bye-bye.